First thing on my notes is shades of 2013. And of course, 2013, that was the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl 48. And that one was 43-8. So a lot worse on the scoreboard. But it was a very similar vibe, just a defensive masterclass out of Seattle. Something crazy that came out after the game that I genuinely could not believe. Shout out, I think it was Mina Kimes on NFL Network. Seattle only blitzed 7 times, which, let me just say, was not the vibe at all. It definitely felt like when you're watching the game, Seattle was blitzing like half the time. And I fully thought that number was a lot higher, like 15. But what it was is that they had gotten pressure on 6 of those blitzes. And for the most part, those 7 blitzes each kind of killed a separate drive. So the vibe of the game is that Seattle was sending a ton of pressure every time. But in reality, they only did 7 times. It's just that those 7 were pretty much perfect. Fun fact, by the way, this now means that we have had 7 blitzes by the winning team in the last 2 Super Bowls, with all 7 being Seattle and 0 being from Philadelphia. Tip of the cap here when we're talking about those blitzes. To one Devon Witherspoon, who him, Kenneth Walker, or Jason Myers would have been my MVP. Devon Witherspoon had a truly amazing game, not only just in coverage, which, it's Devon Witherspoon. He's always going to have that sort of game in coverage. But on those blitzes, man, he was looking like a true pass rusher. Like, watching back the film for this game, Witherspoon was just attacking. It was unbelievable. Like, he was pulling out, like, swim moves. It was like he was seeing where, like, one of the times he got matched up with Will Campbell, he, like, could tell that Will Campbell was off balance to one side, immediately attack the other. And it's like, shit, a lot of D linemen aren't great at that. But Devon Witherspoon is able to recognize where his leverages are, where he can win, and make plays every time he's on a blitz. Which, I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention throughout the year to Seattle, but I like to think that I was. A lot of their final games were giant primetime games, but I didn't know Devon Witherspoon had that in his bag as a slot blitzer. But my God, he on just 7 blitzes, probably 5 of them were him off the slot. He looked like one of the best slot blitzers in the league. He looked unbelievable. He was just flying all over the field, and every time he was getting Drake Maye. So he's so good. He has a deeper bag than just coverage, which is insane to me. And my God, yeah, looking back at that Russell Wilson trade, that's just kind of a crazy thing to think about. Hey, glad to see you're enjoying the video. If you could do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button down below. Over 99% of people who watch this channel aren't subscribed, and we're trying to hit 200 subscribers before the end of February. So if you're enjoying the content, that'd be greatly appreciated. And let's get right back to the video. Those Seattle edge rushers as well. Heading into the preview for the show, I talked about Byron Murphy a bunch. I talked about DeMarcus Lawrence a bunch. I talked about Leonard Williams. And, I said, I didn't mention those edge rushers, really. Because to me, they didn't necessarily matter. I thought they were serviceable enough edge rushers. I didn't think too much of them, right? I thought Boye Mafe is a talented player who's going to create an impact play every once in a while. I thought Derek Hall was a good rotational piece. But those guys came to play. Those guys were unbelievable. Whenever New England's attention was rightfully taken up by those guys, and they would get their one-on-one, my God, they'd win. They would win every time. Boye Mafe, in particular, pending free agent, he's going to get paid by somebody, and I don't think it'll be Seattle. He looked so awesome, and he was just flying over the field. He had one play where he completely read a bootleg, just did not move an inch as soon as Drake Maye faked it. And Drake Maye was like, oh, shit. And he's trying to run and get rid of it, because Boye Mafe is so unbelievably fast, they just chased him down instantly. And how about Derek Hall? I loved him out of the draft a few years ago. He was I watched a lot of Brett Coleman. He was a favorite of Brett Coleman. He goes to Seattle, and I haven't heard his name much in the last 2 years, but my God, in this game, he opens up the game with a sack, and he also, I'm pretty sure, forces that last fumble that effectively ended the game before they got the pick 6. So how about Derek Hall, man? Being a freaking beast. Uchenna Nwosu getting that pick 6, getting that defensive touchdown that ends up stamping a Super Bowl win. So an incredible performance by those edge rushers. Back-to-back years where we see a complete domination up front by one team that just fully killed an offense. On the back end, Julian Love turned in one hell of a performance. He of course, had the interception, and you could tell he was just like a veteran. He was playing a young quarterback, and he was just hunting. He was like, I know that ball's coming. I know the ball's coming. I know the ball's coming. And yeah, he ends up getting a pick, which I think is just really cool. I think when you're that talented at your position, when you've played for a good while, at some point you just kind of get a feeling that the ball is going to come to you, and he absolutely had that feeling all game. He was so ready on so many plays, and he was also just fully shut down those New England receivers deep. There was never anything to go to. My personal favorite, of course, on the Seattle defense, Niki Manwarrier. For the most part, in pass coverage, he didn't do too much, and that's not his fault. That's because New England smartly did not target him. I think he only had a few coverage reps where he really had to worry about the ball, and then he had one in particular where it was a slot fade, a one-on-one him with Demario Douglas, and Drake Maye had to try and put the most perfectly placed outside ball, and it just didn't work. And that was, for the most part, it as far as them targeting Niki Manwarrier, because as I mentioned in the preview, if you're going to beat Seattle, do not throw the ball at him. There's just no point. And he also was really good against the run. Same with Ernest Jones. And yeah, that was it as far as Seattle's defense. Just truly a really, really impressive game out of that unit. And I know that might kind of be well, yeah, no shit. They were the best defense in the league, yada, yada, yada. But for them to really play that clean of a game, you go to the Rams games where it's you can point out a few individual guys where you could see some of them struggling, but not in this one. Not in this one at all. It really felt like the whole team took those 2 weeks and really used them to heart, because every single one of those guys did their role perfectly. Those edge rushers winning one-on-one was just killer for New England, because adding those guys on top of those interior defensive linemen always being a threat, it's just brutal.